Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to our February 2022 channel update, the short YouTube series where we talk a little bit about how the numbers have been with the channel over the past month, talk a little bit about what's gone on and some reflect back on how the month went, and then talk a little bit about the upcoming month and what the plans and hopes are for creating content going forward. Let's jump right in and get started. Numbers are always a fun place to start. The previous update, I said the channel got 46,000 views in the 28 days before the update. Today, as we look at it, the channel got 40,000 views over the past month in that update. You might say, that's not good, right? The numbers have gone down, but hold your horses. It's actually not that bad. So I'm pretty happy with that number, and I'll explain why in a moment. For total time watched, it was 3,600 hours in the previous update. Now it's 3,900 hours. So a little bit of growth there, which for reasons I'll explain momentarily, I feel like I'm pretty happy with that too. And then subscribers, kind of big news. I guess, kind of happy days kind of stuff. It was 1,642 subscribers at the last update. And then yesterday during the Super Bowl, I looked after the Super Bowl was done and we crossed the 2,000 subscriber mark. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed, all the new subscribers, as well as for the continued support from everybody else, and just constantly humbled by the fact that 2,000 people have opted to click a subscription button and are finding some entertainment or value in some of the content they've been able to create. So again, thanks for sharing the journey and for being part of it, and for, happy that 2,000, we got 2,000 subscribers. So that's pretty cool. I think I feel pretty, pretty humbled and happy about that. So that's good, right? I think that's pretty good. Now the downward spiral in the view, well, it's not a downward spiral, the drop in the views. Let's be a little bit less dramatic about it, right? If you recall, some of you may recall in the last update, I talked about one video in particular that had accounted for over 20,000 of the 46,000 views in the previous month. It was a tutorial video I did on Euro Truck Simulator 2 about installing a snow mod. And I predicted at that point in time, I said, the views on that video are going to go way down because as it gets closer to spring, people aren't going to be installing snow mods, right? They're just not going to be doing that. And sure enough, just as I expected, they were actually tailing off already by that January point in that last update. They went from about over 20,000 views in the previous month to about 5,000 views over the last 30 days. So it dropped by about 15,000 views, and yet the channel views only dropped by about 6,000. So I feel like, that's okay. We kind of lost that one big video, but the overall views didn't drop down that much. So I'm hopeful that maybe, over the next month, we'll stay about the same and maybe even get a little bit of growth there with total views. That'd be kind of cool. But so the long story short is, over the past month, I'm pretty happy with the numbers. And looking back on the last month, I was able to create 23 videos. Now this is kind of, I guess, over the past month, I guess I'm satisfied with how much I've been able to do, and yet at the same point, a little bit disappointed with how much I've been able to do. And I'll explain a little bit. So my general target for a month is to create a video every day. And some videos take longer to create than others and things like that. But with weekends and stuff like that and time, I feel like and where my life is right now, I feel like that's a reasonable expectation of output. We made 23 videos again over the past between the last update and now. So it's like 8 videos short considering there was 31 days. But I will also say that the last month was, I don't want to go into details, but I'll just say that the last month, the last 31 days have been probably more so the last 3 weeks have been the most challenging, one of the most challenging months I've ever had at work. Things are getting better now, but it was really tough. Then on top of that, about 2 weeks ago, I messed up my back. It's nothing serious or anything like that. But it was painful, right? It just hurt. And if you've had back pain before, you can kind of know what that's like. Sometimes it's just really hard to do stuff. And especially as it would get worse during the day, sometimes when I would have time to shoot is when I was kind of playing, okay, I got to play hurt. And then some days it's like, yeah, I just have to go on the injured reserve list today. I can't do it today. So given those two things, kind of the stress and this overwhelming nature of work, and the fact then for about the last 14 days, it's been like, wow, this has been pretty rough, just in terms of pain level. Given those two things, I feel like, okay, I'm pretty happy with being able to produce 23 videos. And now I'm not in agony and everything like that. It's fine. And actually, today, the last 3-4 days have been so much better. I've been doing stretching and doing core exercises and doing all this kind of back strengthening exercises that I kind of need to do if I mess up my back or something like that. Happens every once in a while, like once every Actually, I guess like 6 years or so. 6 years ago was the last time it happened. So it doesn't happen every once in a while. 6 years ago it was really bad. That's a whole different story. This was just like, wow, it really hurts and I know what I need to do. And it's feeling so much better right now. So that makes me feel good. So I'm very excited going forward because work has settled down. I'm not saying it's back to normal, but it's settled in place. It looks like it's going to be a much more stable month. And then my back's feeling a ton better. So I'm really excited to go forward for the next month because I do feel like that one video a day is reasonable output to expect. So of those 23 videos though, what have I made? Well, so there were 2 car mechanic simulator videos. And I mentioned that in the last previous update that I feel like that's it's a game that doesn't have a ton of variety and depth. There's a repetitiveness to it, right? That I think lends itself to making a video every once in a while, but not necessarily a ton of videos on it. So I imagine it'd be something that maybe I create a video once a month about what goes on. That it's just fun to go in sometimes and restore a car and make a video of it. And I want to play around with some ideas for videos a little bit, but that feels about right for that. They started a new series on a crafting and survival game called This War of Mine. Episode 2 was up just a couple of days ago. And that ties into the objective that I talked about last time was the feeling, and I'll talk more about this in a few minutes, the feeling that I really want to lean into creating content for different types of games because I feel like the content on the channel has been really focused on a small subset of games for the past year. So that's kind of one attempt to do that in a way that's like the game Help Will Come Tomorrow that I played before, but it kind of touches on war because you're trying to keep these people alive in a war-torn city for enough days until they get rescued by the end of the war. So it's crafting, survival, yet there's a little bit of combat in there sometimes like that too. But it feels like a game that fits somewhat pretty well in with the channel's content and not quite in that strategy level, but still it's something that I feel like I have to lean into to learn how to make videos about different types of games. So there's 2 episodes on that. I envision that'll probably be about 10, maybe a dozen episodes before we don't win. It's a hard game and I haven't done very well in it. I played it once before this. It hasn't gone very well, so I don't know how long this is going to last, but this will come up every once in a while. Trucking-wise and trucking simulation videos, there were 7 in the last month, and ideally I'd like that number more like 9 or 10, so I feel like I can create a little bit more then. But again, given the fact that I was playing injured some of the time and that work was kind of crazy for a little while, I'm pretty happy with that number overall, but I'd like to see a little bit more. Wargaming was pretty good. 11 videos in the last of the 28 and over the last 31 days were wargaming centered, board wargaming centered, and I feel like that was a lot better. Although within that, the only play session videos were Submarine Mondays, and I really want to create more videos on play sessions. And the last time I talked a little bit about possibly creating a series on Vassal, but I wasn't really sure. And then someone mentioned you should check out Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials videos on his channel. And I looked at those and I was really impressed. And so that got me thinking like, yeah, Vassal is a legitimate place to create video content for board war games. So I think I want to try to lean into that at some point in the near future, as well as get a series going on D-Day at Omaha Beach. And I imagine that'll be kind of a short series on a table war game that I've been learning to play over the last couple of weeks. But really want to create more wargaming content play sessions. One of the wargaming videos over the past month called Upcoming War Games actually has done really well for the channel for a wargaming video. I'm going to make another one of those at this upcoming weekend. So Upcoming War Games number 2 will come out then. And interestingly enough, that I think I'll be doing a little bit our first developer interview because I'm going to kind of make a couple of videos to help promote a couple of upcoming games that are coming out in the next few months. So kind of excited about that project as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And I feel like the wargaming stuff is done pretty well in terms of creating content. But yeah, again, I just want to make more play sessions for that. And then as well, did one channel update as well. The thing that I wasn't able to do that I'm hoping to do that I really want to do. So it's kind of funny. I went back and I watched my previous channel update as I was making this one to just try to get an idea. Okay, what did I talk about? What was I talking about? Make sure I don't leave any kind of loose threads with this one or things I said I was going to talk about. And one of the things that I talked about was playing more PC games and making videos about PC games on strategy games, along with the idea that I think in order to improve as a creator, I have to make videos on different games. And I really want to explore the strategy game area, both on PC games and on board games. And so one of the goals I said was I really want to lean into it, start playing and making videos about a strategy war game. And what was really funny was as I was thinking of the content of this video, before I looked at the old video, I had those exact same things in my head. So and then I went back and watched the video. It's like, dude, you're going to say the exact same thing you said a month ago. But I know why I've been reluctant to do it, and I know why I have to not be reluctant to do it. So as I started to explore this, one of the things that I keep getting stuck at, well, two things. One is I haven't made videos on PC strategy games outside of the Panzer Core series, which is a series that kind of got halfway through and it kept expanding and getting bigger. And at some point I might go back to that one. I haven't given up on that yet. But it's a genre of game that I really haven't done much with. So I'm not that confident yet in my ability to create kind of interesting videos with that type of content. And the second thing is I don't feel like there's a lot of those games that I can play particularly well. And not that playing super well or playing awesome or being awesome at the game is really a goal of this channel. I mean, I'd like to play well, but I'd more like to lean into kind of how to play and the thinking that goes on, playing okay and playing good enough to let the game kind of tell this story and kind of evoke this story of a civilization or people or a tribe or whatever it would happen to be, or a nation or something as you're playing the game. But I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. But what I realized is, and what I have to keep telling myself is, the only way to get good at those types of videos and those types of games is to really lean into them and play them and start creating videos about them. And one of my mindsets, as I this is kind of probably saying way too much about it, but now that I'm on a roll, I'm just going to keep going. Not necessarily a roll, but I'm just going to keep going anyway. One of my things that I always tell myself is when I try to explore a new area, especially with video content creation and things like that, is how quickly can I make 100 videos on that particular area? So like right now, I think it's a little bit over 80 wargame videos in the wargaming list. So I still feel like I'm very much in that learn to explore. Don't worry about the quality. Just try to make stuff, get as fast as you can to 100 videos about that particular topic. And I feel like I need to do the same thing with PC-based strategy games, which is dig in, start making videos with the expectation, yeah, the first 20 are probably going to be really bad. And the people are going to be like, dude, you shouldn't even make these, you know? Then the next 20 might be like, okay, maybe they'll be okay. And then by the time you get to 100, then you can start to say, okay, what am I doing? What can I change? How can we make these better? What kind of things can we do? I mean, not that you're not asking those questions, but you get the idea that really before you can really start to evaluate what you're doing and worry about the quality, you kind of just have to do the best you can for the first 100 videos and then figure things out after that. So that's really what I want to try to do, is how quickly can I get to a 0 to 100 for PC strategy games, you know, games that are similar to board war games, thinking games like Stellaris, games like Crusader Kings. One of the ones I've been playing and trying to learn over the past couple of weeks now is Shadow Empire, which is really fun, very wargamey in space. It's really such a cool game. And then upcoming Distant Worlds 2, which would be really fun, I think, to lean into. So those types of games that I think will have a fun overlap between board war games, simulations, strategy games, all wrapped up into kind of one thing. And then also to explore some different types of games along simulation games. So we have the trucking videos. The Car Mechanic Simulator was a game like that. I've got one that looks really kind of cool, which is, I think it's called Bazou. I'm probably screwing that up. But if you know the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. Again, kind of car repair, racing, car simulation kind of type of thing. And I do want to lean eventually back into Football Manager because it's so much fun. But I'm looking at it now and just looking at the content that's out there and thinking about how much time it would take with these other things that I'd really like to do with the channel. I'm thinking like, I really want to hold off a little bit on Football Manager. So if you've been waiting for that, I apologize. I'm just not quite there yet mentally up for the amount of energy it takes to do that right. And I really need to kind of feel that creative energy to lean into that space, I think, to do a good job with it, because Football Manager is probably, it takes about 6 to 8 hours for me to create a video because of how much time it takes to play in between the videos. So that's a space where I really feel like I say, I need to really feel the energy to do it before I start. Otherwise that will show in the kind of the quality of the video that comes out. So I think that touches pretty much on everything over the course of the next month. Wargaming videos, start a new play session, maybe start a vassalry, a developer interview coming up, upcoming war games, more trucking simulation videos, maybe a car management one, maybe a series on Vassal. I mentioned that, and continue on with This War of Mine. If you've got ideas, things you'd like to see play, especially in terms of board war games or ideas for series or videos, I'd love to hear them because I really want to lean into new types of videos and trying to make some more stuff so that I get better at doing this and get a different idea on how to look videos, because I think that will level up the whole level of quality on the channel as we go forward. So really trying to lean into spaces that I haven't kind of stepped into before, yet that are still close enough to what we've been doing that they feel like they tie into the same theme of the channel. That's a ton of words, probably. There was one other thing. Oh, yes, I did want to mention it. The long talked about Patreon. Again, thank you to David T for being our sponsor on the Ko-Fi thing. Thank you so much for doing that. It's super appreciated. It always feels good. It's like, wow, someone supports us. That feels really cool. And I know that a few other people have reached out mentioning like, you know, where's the Patreon channel? If you put it up, I'll let you know. And I apologize that I haven't done that yet. But by the middle of March, by the next update, I guarantee it will be out. So I've actually made a little bit of progress on it recently in the past few days. Just have a couple more things to figure out. One of the things I'm wondering about, and maybe people could help me if you have ideas on it. So Patreon has these tiers, right? And I'm thinking like 3 or maybe 4. And given like the multi-theme level of the channel, right? So we got kind of simulation, there's kind of the trucking things going on, war games, strategy games, sports simulations, you know, games that make you think, I think is what I've always said about this channel is games that make you think. What would be good tiers? Because I was thinking military ranks, but not everything is military on the channel. So that doesn't really work. I was thinking maybe like, you know, simulation type ranks like sports positions, but that's, you know, not everything is sports and not everything is simulation. And Football Manager isn't here right now. So that would leave off kind of the military. So what would be a ranking system that would make everybody feel welcome? Because the last thing I want to do is make someone feel like they don't feel part of the channel based on what a title or what a tier in the channel does. I mean, I suppose I could just call it like tier 1, 2, 3, 4, but I feel like we can do better than that, right? I mean, that feels kind of lame. So ideas, thoughts, anything, comments, reflections like that, I'd be really interested to hear them if you have some ideas on what might be used for tier names on Patreon, because that's kind of where I've been stuck for the last 2 or 3 days. And I was stuck there like 3 weeks ago, the last time I worked at it. But I will get that done for the next one. And thank you everybody for your patience and for reaching out and asking about it. I mean, just that in itself is very humbling and flattering. People say like, hey, we'd like to do that, but let us know. So there you go. I think that's everything. Sorry, it's going on a long time, I bet. One more thing. I mentioned in the last video that I'd started doing game design and game creation works and promised to have, not promised, but I was talking about having monthly updates. With all the stuff that went on at work and doubling in with the back injury, I really got knocked off track with that for the last 2.5 weeks or so. I do hope to get back to that, but I think the first update might come at the end of February rather than sooner than later. So I got kind of wiped out there for about 16 days. It was just, yeah. I talked about it before. It was kind of rough for a spot in there, but I definitely want to get back to it. I will get back to it. Just I got a sidetrack there for a couple of weeks. So that'll be just like once a month video on that type of thing. All right. I have rambled on way too long. For anyone who still happens to be listening to this, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're new, please consider subscribing. The goal of the channel, again, is to kind of provide fun content on games that make people think. So we have simulations in terms of the trucking simulations. I guess I call those more like games that help you to chill, right? Almost like podcasting, right? Try to pick a few topics of interest in the game and then just kind of have fun in the gaming world. So they're kind of more like Zen relaxation videos. But I feel like, I don't know, that's an aspect of thinking that I kind of feel like is beneficial as well. Games that just help us to kind of chill out and relax a little bit. So that's always going to, I think, be part of the channel too, right? So it's not just thinking, it's also thinking and reflecting, relaxing, and just kind of taking it easy. But along those lines of, we do try to have games that make you think in terms of board war games, can try to digital strategy games, sports simulations, and then other simulations along the ideas of vehicles and things like that too. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, subscriptions are always welcome. And again, thank you so much for everybody who subscribed. To previous subscribers, all the subscribers have been here for a long time. And then for the new subscribers that have joined over the past few months, it felt really cool to go over 2,000 subscribers, and looking forward to continuing on the journey and making more stuff. So thanks everybody. Have a great day. And as always, appreciate your time and comments as well. Thank you. Bye.